Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Oh shit. Ha. Refreshing. Oh god, I hate it when that happens. Terrible way to start a podcast. Hello! Oh my god, hello! Yes, you guessed it. It is I, Old Heart, here to celebrate another episode of Coffee and Contemplation. Perhaps your least favorite podcast. Most definitely your least consistent podcast. Either way, like I said, I'm Old Heart, aka Jared, aka Suck Eggs. I forgot what I was going to say anyway. If you read the title of the podcast today, you'll know what we're talking about. If you didn't, and you just blindly are listening to a lot of random episodes of Old Heart Radio, kudos. Consider yourself a hot dog. But we are not talking, about hot dogs. I'm drinking a carbonated beverage. Ugh, God, and it's making me all burpy. Ugh. Don't you just hate it when you get a bad case of the burpees? Sometimes legend has it that if you get a bad case of the burpees, it never goes away. Just a warning, kids. That being said, we're not talking about burpees, we're not talking about hot dogs, we're not talking about me, we're most certainly not talking about you. We're talking about the second presidential debate of the 2020 presidential election, and holy shit. I mean, I was reading a lot of random people's reactions, and a lot of commentators seem to kind of have a similar reaction where they were, they have this air of, at least it wasn't as bad as the last one. I don't disagree with that. I still think that we, as a sort of democracy, as practicing democratic principles, the society of ours is. I'm not Yoda. Okay, I'm not talking like that. So our society practices democratic principles, and we're using our voice to vote, which I just finished filling out my ballot right before this podcast, dear listener, dear hot dog. So if you haven't, and you haven't had your plan to vote, you're probably running behind. But I urge you to use your voice and vote. Either way. But yeah, the debate was, it was a fucking mess. And we kind of got cheated. As a people, I feel like we have gotten cheated out of being able to give an informed decision in this election, which is kind of fucky if you think about it. There's essentially the crowd of Biden is not Trump, so we're going to vote for him, and the Trump supporter. And, I'm not trying to shit talk one or the other, but it's fucked that you have to be either or. Biden, I will say, has his campaign at least has made some moves, some bold claims, and they came out in this last debate in the form of some random statements like that his climate change plan or how to address it would, one, obviously, I think everybody guessed it, would bring us back to in fold with the Paris Accords, but he also let out a bombastic statement in saying that it would lead to the elimination of the oil industry, which, is a big statement politically, for sure, but it's smart, right? It's the logical step, and we have to start changing industry across the globe to be a more renewable, friendly thing. A more let's just say just a greener economy. And with that greener economy will come, obviously, jobs. There will come, new types of work that will replace the old types of work. That has happened for centuries as the world has continued to develop. So it's not a big fucking deal. People that make it a big fucking deal are crazy, and they're probably just making a lot of money from the oil industry. So that was a big statement by Biden. And for the most part, besides random big statements like that, he had a I'd say a moderate night. Biden was reserved. He was trying to be as respectful as possible towards the moderator. I believe her name was Kirsten Welker. It showed. He was more silent than the other candidate. Donald Trump was fucking all over the place as usual. And, one of the things that pissed me off was shit. Shout-outs to all of you listening. Shout-outs to every one of you who may be out there listening to this. Hope you can vote if you're of voting age. Thanks for doing your part. That's all I'm going to say. So Trump was a fucking shit mess, as always. He was all over the place. He was petty sounding. He kept doing this thing with his voice, this inflection with his voice, like, come on, I've got to respond to that. And it was like this, like, weird, I don't know, he was trying to get, like, this, like, he was trying to be, get, like, sympathy or something. I don't know, it was strange. But we got no solid policy plans. When directly asked questions, he didn't answer them. He went on fucking tangents. And he spent the majority of his night just trying to make Biden look bad. Which, again, I want to point out that this is not what our political system should be. It shouldn't be, I'm going to just try and point fingers and make accusations that sound bad enough to ruin your shot. It should be, we should be comparing policies. We should be, comparing the actual future that is being envisioned by these supposed leaders. And instead, we have an 80-something-year-old man who is doing his best to stay civil. He's doing his best to not be overwhelmed with anxiety. He's doing his best to just show up and do what he's trying to do. And then you have this orange sack of skin on the other hand, who happens to be the sitting president for some fucking reason, even though this person's is sitting in office, who is sitting in office has been accused of rape on numerous occasions, who has been recorded saying nasty things, vulgar things, who has shown no interest in actual leadership in his office, and all we're getting from him is like run-on sentences and and unfounded accusations towards his candidate. Like, I think Trump was like, yeah, at one point he was like, yeah, you're gonna get the #1 best, A1 steak sauce, party people planners. It's just, he just says words that come tumbling out of his mouth that don't mean shit. Because he has no control over what he's fucking doing in his administration currently, and he doesn't want control. And I'm beginning to think that, this is just like, I feel like he's just hedging a bet and just thinking, well, if I win, I win. And if I don't, fuck it, I don't. But we all know Donald Trump. He doesn't like to lose. And I mean, as we can see with this current campaign, he seems to be more in this re-election for the vanity than he was the first time around. And that's worrisome. He has no interest in fucking helping the American people. Biden, on the other hand, at least is trying to look towards the future, And that at least was kind of shown through in this debate. Biden, when he could, talked about what his future plans were. like I said, Trump, when asked those same kind of questions, didn't respond. It's just it was a shit mess. And one of the things that pissed me off almost the entire time, I'm not trying to discredit the moderator, Kirsten Welker, whatever. But like, they promised that they were gonna mute the fucking mics, right? And they didn't. Like, they just straight up didn't. And they let Trump ramble on and rant on and control so much of that fucking stage. Like, he was doing those weird little baby hand things with his like little fucking baby hands where he points at the moderator like, "Oh, I'm gonna finish." And I imagine that's what he does to Melania, you know. And it's just like, you can't do this. You can't act like a fucking man-child and then claim that you want to be the president, man. Like, there's no decorum left in the very last bone spur in Donald Trump's fucking heels. Like, I'm worried, man. After watching the second debate and getting no good information, except maybe from this is the last thing I'm going to mention that was a positive about the debate, was at least on that debate stage, even though it was two old white men, at least one of them said on a presidential debate stage that there is institutional racism in America. I'm proud of that. And that being said, I'm proud to vote Biden this time around. You know? I hope that is the future that we can lead ourselves down, and eventually get more and more progressive along the way. But fuck, I was so disappointed at this debate because, like I said, they promised that they would mute the mics and they didn't, and so they basically just enabled them to go back and forth. They enabled them they enabled Trump to like rant on and on and on about bullshit. And we got nothing. We got nothing but, you know, the same old. And like like a friend of mine said today, I don't think it changed anybody's minds, that debate. And I agree with him. So that being said, go out there, use your brains for good, use your voice for good. Go vote if you can. This election is important. Every day is a good day to ripen up your coconuts, people. And by that, I mean your mind. All right. Read a book, read some news, play an instrument, create some art, do whatever you need to ripen that thing up. Oh, and get on Instagram and follow us on Instagram at Old Heart Radio, and follow us on Twitter at Old Heart in Space. And guess what? I didn't forget. Oatly, sponsor me! Keep your stick on the ice.